Good morning, everyone. It is Wednesday, May 27th, 2020. I'm Keith Tebow. Thank you for joining us on what looks like is going to be a very nice Wednesday here in southern New England. You know, the governor of Massachusetts a few weeks ago announced the reopening of the Commonwealth, and slowly things are starting to return to normal. And one of the areas of interest, which is very important to a lot of us on the South Coast, is the reopening of our places of worship. And beginning this weekend, the Diocese of Fall River will be opening up its parishes again to the faithful and holding regular masses. And I'm pleased to be joined this morning by the Bishop of the Diocese of Fall River, the Most Reverend Edgar da Cunha. Bishop da Cunha, thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. How are you?
I'm all right. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to join you this morning.
Let me ask you, first of all, Your Excellency, how important is this startup for the faithful in our diocese? It's been over 2 months since people have not been able to partake in Mass in the traditional sense. And we'll get into some of the restrictions that are going to come with the opening. But how important is it for people's faith to get back to some semblance of normalcy?
I think it's very important. Our faith is nourished by prayer, by the sacrament, by the community life that we live as we participate in the life of the church. And we all been deprived of that for the last 2 months or so. And I know people are hungry and anxious and desiring to return to the church. Although this is not full return to normalcy, at least is a beginning, is a first step, and is a slow process of returning to some sense of a normal life. We hope that this will be the case, that the return will not be returning the virus or another surge of the virus. So we need to be very careful. But I'm looking forward, and I'm sure many people are looking forward to returning to church.
Do you have a sense at all from just speaking with your parish priests across the diocese, what type of turnout we may expect this weekend? Obviously, there's restrictions in terms of social distancing and wearing of masks. Is there any sense at all that a lot of people are ready to come back? Are some people still a little concerned about potentially becoming infected if they return to church?
I believe that we're not going to see a full return the way we were before this pandemic hit us. So I think that first of all, because we can't accommodate everybody who the way we had before. So I believe there are people who are still concerned about being in a crowd in a public place, in sharing the same space, and that's so perfectly understandable, and I fully understand their concern. There are people who, because of their age or their underlying health condition, should not be coming to church. And because of those things, and I think there will be a smaller number than we are used to seeing. And I believe those who really wanted to come are willing and ready, and I hope that they're ready to accept the challenges that we all face in reopening, that they are willing to follow the guidelines and the regulations and the cautions and the restrictions that we need to follow to avoid the further contamination.
Some of the items that is going to be, some of the restrictions rather, and some of the guidelines that the diocese has issued will mandate that everyone entering the church will enter through one entrance, one main entrance to a church. They're going to be asked to wear their mask when they're entering and leaving the church, making sure that they use some hand sanitizer as they enter the church. Each row of pews, every other row will be blocked off to try to maintain that 6-foot distance. Some of the things that, people have been practicing right along, but there are some specific aspects, Your Excellency, in terms of the Mass that will be different. And one of the items is Holy Communion. Holy Communion will still be offered, but there will be some differences that people will see. Tell us a little bit about how Holy Communion will be different when people go to Mass on Sunday.
Yes. First of all, we are asking people to receive communion in the hand, not on the tongue, as some people are used to, because is a unique time and special time, and we want people to be willing to make some sacrifice, even though they feel comfortable receiving on the tongue and they're used to doing that. We are encouraging and asking them to receive on the hand, because is a safer way to do. And in my guidelines to the parishes, I left to the priest, to the pastor, to the celebrant, whether they distribute communion at the usual time during the Mass, or they can also distribute communion at the very end, after the final blessing and dismissal. People who are not receiving communion can exit the church, therefore you will be less people, and only those who will receive will remain, and then as they receive, they exit the church, so there is less agglomeration and crowding in one space. So communion will be different, and people are supposed to then wear their mask as they approach to receive communion, and then remove the mask to receive the communion, put the body of Jesus into their mouth, and then put the mask back on. We have to take all the precautions that we need. We have to be extremely careful. We cannot lower the guards at this point. I hear from scientists and medical experts that this reopening is really a high risk of returning. And I think we need to be so careful that we don't have to shut down again in the near future. And it's really depends on how well we take those guidelines and observe them.
I know there's also the individual parishes are being asked to sort of take registration for specific masses on their times. How is the diocese asking that to work? And are a lot of people aware that they may need to sort of register to attend one of the masses this weekend?
Yeah, it varies from parish to parishes, and I'm leaving up to each parish, because each parish is different size. They can accommodate different number of people. It's up to the pastor and their staff and the parishioners to find a way to control the crowd. The purpose of that is that if your capacity, the 40% with the social space in the 6 feet apart, all that, if they say, okay, we can safely accommodate 75 people here. Well, if 150 show up, then you're not gonna be able to accommodate them all. So you don't want to just turn people away. So this pre-registration is to know how many people you're gonna have at each Mass. But some feel that they are not going to have a bigger crowd to begin with, so they could easily accommodate without the pre-registration. So it depends on from parish to parish, and I'm leaving up to the pastors to determine that. There are ways of doing that too, through the internet. There's software that they can do that. People can do over the phone, calling the parish office, and we're all hoping that this works out well.
So for those specific instances, you're asking parishioners to contact their individual parish in terms of how they plan to handle if there's any registration at all, correct?
Right. Or either they can go to their website and find out that the parish should also put all this information on their website. The parishioners should check before they just decide to go to church. They should check with either the website or calling the office, however they find a way of doing it.
There are some other changes to the masses that are part of the guidelines. One that I guess you're asking the parish priest to be a little more efficient with their services. There'll be some restrictions on having the congregation sing, although you're still going to encourage music at the masses, but not choirs and the like. So there'll be some changes there. Another change is the offertory, the financial offertory during the Mass. That will not be done rather traditionally, but rather there'll be some collection baskets either when people enter or leave the church. Is that correct?
Yes, and during these last couple of months, many people changed the way they've been giving their donation to the church. Many began doing it online giving. They some of them just mail the envelope. Now that many are beginning to come to church, again, in order to avoid those contacts and people being close, the parish need to figure out a way, and probably just have a basket at the entrance of the church where people drop the envelopes as they come in or as they exit, instead of the usual traditional way of taking the collection.
Have the parishes been able to continue to maintain the services they have been providing financially throughout this? You said, as you said, people are offering their support online. Are the parishes facing any financial constraints as far as you know? I mean, obviously some of their expenses haven't been as high as well, without electricity or heating some of the parishes during the shutdown.
Yeah, it varies from parish to parish. Some parishes have done better than others. Some parishes, people continue making their offerings and doing online giving and all that. Some parishes have dropped considerably, and we have everywhere in between. As a whole, if you take the average throughout the diocese, there is a considerable drop in the income for the parish, but we're able to get some of the government help also to cover some of the expenses for a period of time. And so we're all hoping that now, with the return coming back, the parishes will be able to recuperate and move on as the parishioners return to normal worship.
Also coming back, now that the restrictions have been eased, are funerals and weddings. Weddings has probably been something that has been on the mind of many brides across our region, as many weddings are planned a year plus in advance, and they're setting those dates in June brides coming up. Parishes will be able to celebrate weddings and also serve funerals as well moving forward, but again, with those same restrictions in place. So in terms of the short term, a lot of brides may be happy to see these restrictions being lifted.
Yeah, and I hope they are, and I hope the restrictions are still gonna be in place for them, as well as their reception. I'm sure they're gonna have restriction on their reception, of number of people that they can have, because of the social distances apply to all gatherings of people. So they have to adjust their own plans, and the parishes, we work with the couple, their families, and I hope that anyone who has wedding planned for June and on will be able to accommodate and celebrate.
All right, Bishop Edgar da Cunha, I really appreciate your time with us today, Your Excellency. Thank you for joining us. And again, if anyone has any questions, they can just visit their parish website or call their parish office if they have any specific questions about their parishes and masses coming up this weekend. Bishop da Cunha, thank you very much, and enjoy the fine weather, and we'll talk again soon. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you. Again, I want to thank the Most Reverend Bishop Edgar da Cunha for joining us today and providing some information as services across the Diocese of Fall River will reopen this coming weekend, Saturday and Sunday. We also want to thank you for joining us today. Please continue to visit our website, frmedia.org, for the latest information on what's happening at Fall River Community Media, as well as some other information of note as we continue to all deal with the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm Keith Tebow. Thank you for joining us today, and have a great rest of your Wednesday.